Hey guys, as you can probably see from the title of this video, this is part two of a two-part episode covering the human design and astrology charts of Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham and also their synastry and composite charts. That's why this is so long. Also because we just had to, we love Fleetwood Mac, so we had to throw in a bunch of trivia. But that being said, if you want to watch part one, where we go over the astrology charts, you can do that by going to the description and grabbing the link there. Anyway, that's it from me until we jump to about 4 seconds from now when it's also me talking. Okay, everyone say thank you for the astrology, Caitlin. Thank you, Caitlin.
You're
It was so
welcome.
good. All right, so now we're moving on to human design. And this is same, but different. So we're gonna find a lot of the same themes, in particular because, or especially because human design uses astrological calculations to create the human design body graph. So if you didn't know that, that's the case. And there will be some overlap then between the gates, which come from the I Ching, and astrological placements, because in human design, basically how we create the human design chart is whatever planet is in quote unquote a certain gate, which like you can kind of it's kind of fungible for astrological sign in human design. Whatever planet is in a certain gate, then that gate is imprinted into your chart, and then that's what creates your human design chart. And everything else is based off of that. So your energy type, your authority, your energy centers, all of that stuff comes from that. So there will be some overlap, and that's part of why Caitlin and I like doing these, because it's cool to see how, someone's characteristics and attributes show up in different ways in these two systems, but they're
Mhm.
the same characteristics and attributes. First off, let's talk about. I was going to talk about their composite chart first, but I say we talk about them on their own. So for energy type, Lindsey, as we mentioned before, is a manifestor energy type, which is the initiator, closed aura. They are the people who are here to come up with something out of nothing, out of nowhere, and be like, I don't know why I want to do this. This is an urge. I got to do that. This is an inspiration. And then they go make it happen. And they are here to inform people about that because they have a little habit of kind of disappearing and not telling people where they're going and what they're doing, which can cause much confusion and sometimes stress to other people. And the manifestor is like, I don't understand why this matters. Why do you care? Why do you even care? Because they don't realize that they have a big aura that carries a lot of impact. So they don't realize they're impactful a lot of the time. And they just see everybody else is trying to control them and tell them what to do. And they're like, this seems unfair. I don't like this. Talk about feeling misunderstood, as we mentioned before with Lindsey.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, we have Stevie, and she's what's known as a pure manifesting generator. So with manifesting generators, they're kind of the combo specials of human design. So they're essentially a subtype of the generator energy type. So I'm a pure generator. And basically, what generators are here to do is be builders and expanders. So we were born with a lot of energy. We will have this like renewable battery in us until the day we die. And it's this battery of life source energy. So basically, the way it works is that this life source energy is very powerful and it can be used for anything, but it's not supposed to be used for just anything. It's supposed to be used for what feels like a gut yes to you. Because when something comes into your life and you're like, whoa, that's exciting, that's enlivening, that truly and authentically lights me up and makes me happy. That means that it's your body telling you you have sacral center energy available for this. The sacral center is the life force energy center in human design. And so basically, people like Stevie are here to build and create and expand based on what feels like a yes and what feels really exciting to them. So it's not that manifestors aren't here to do what makes them happy, but the main difference here is that Stevie and Lindsey have like basically opposite types of auras. So Stevie, as a generator subtype, is here to allow life to show her something, which it's going to do at all times. And then her aura will respond to that with a yes or a no. And so whatever is a yes, she follows that. What's a no? Like what doesn't enliven her, what doesn't feel good, or what even feels like it's full of dread for her, what drives her down, she lets that go. And then on the other hand, Lindsey has it from like an internal place. So it's like I just know what I'm gonna do. It comes out of nowhere, and then I seek out to go like make it happen. So they're opposites. Like the
Mhm.
generator aura is quite receptive in that way, even if it doesn't look like that externally. That's what's happening on a mechanical level. And then the manifestor energy type is this internal energy surging outward to like go towards the thing. And so Stevie, I mentioned she is a generator subtype, but she's what's known as a manifesting generator
Mhm.
because she is a specific kind of generator, which is a generator with manifestor qualities.
Yeah.
So basically, she's also gonna kind of get urges like Lindsey is, but for her, the way to use her energy and to basically like channel those urges in the most effective way is to wait to respond. So instead of trying to get herself to like start something out of nothing and just go make it happen, which a lot of manifesting generators want to do, and because they're just like, you're not going to stop me because they have this manifestor part of them. They're like, but because but instead, like, it's easiest to allow the universe to just like show you the next step because it's always doing that. Your aura is literally responding to every single thing around you, whether it's like a window and like, do you want to open that or close that? Whatever. It's always happening. So you just need to kind of pay attention to your external environment. And then the thing with manifesting generators is that once they have that thing to say yes to, then it's like things are so fast. And what's really interesting about the manifestor and manifesting generator relationship, and I actually learned this from a manifestor, is that this can be like the most triggering relationship between energy types.
Really?
Yeah, because they're so similar that they understand each other and they have like the same kind of needs, so they have to go their own way. But they're also different enough that they won't really get each other. So with it's interesting because Stevie is an MG, and actually as a pure what's called a pure MG, she would feel more like a manifester than a generator. She'd have like seem more manifestory. But she still has an open aura. She has an open and developing aura, which means it's a little bit easier to read. So, on the other hand, Lindsey has a closed aura, and this is why manifestors need to inform because it's really hard to read these people. Like, people don't know what's going on with you really unless you tell them for the most part if you're a manifester. So, this can lead to this like basically both of them have these strong urges to do something, and they'll be like, "Don't tell me what to do. Stop trying to control me." Got
That's
it.
their Mars Saturn
Yeah,
fit.
exactly.
Yeah.
So there can be some issues in communication too, because something you kind of like sense from Stevie when she's describing Lindsey and talking about him is like, yeah, he's a creative genius. Like he's an interesting guy, but and like I respect his creativity and vision, but also like what the fuck is wrong with you? Like why are you
Why are
doing
you
this?
that way?
Like why are you this way? Why are you just
Yeah.
doing this thing? You won't just like tell me. Like you go off and take off and do whatever, and then you don't tell me. And what's really interesting too is that manifestors are kind of known for being like once they like you or if they decide that you're like one of their kind or one of their like people, they decide like, all right, this is one of mine. Like I kind of claim this one. And it's not necessarily that they want to control you. Many manifestors are not controlling people because they don't want to be controlled themselves. They just want to be left alone to do their own thing. But like when they find someone they like, it's like we're a team now.
Yeah.
Like you're one of my people. I will die for you, but I expect you to like kind of be here with me. And that's again specifically the kind of manifestor he is, which we'll talk about when we get to his authority. But it's interesting because he would, just kind of do whatever, but Stevie expressed that she wasn't really allowed to do that. And before
Yeah.
he even joined the band, she would say, like, I would go out and waitress and work, and I'd come home and I'd get kind of the cold shoulder from him because he'd be like, where you been? What were you doing? Who are you seeing? And she was like, I'm literally making money for us to survive. That's
like
what he's been
supporting
doing.
them.
I know. She's
Yeah.
like, what do you want from me? Jesus Christ. Also, okay, here's something we really have to talk about, and this was one of the things I was really excited to talk about, is during the recording of the album Tusk, which was the album right after Rumors. Lindsey one day showed up to the studio, and like for anyone like who knows what Lindsey Buckingham looked like in the 70s, he had like a big fro, big
Oh,
long
his hair was
curly
like
hair.
everything.
Oh, he was so beautiful. And like even when he cut it off, I thought he was beautiful. And if you know me, like half of the reason I think most guys are good looking is because they
Their
have
hair.
their hair and their long hair. So the fact that he cut his hair and I still was like, that's an Adonis. Like that's how you know he's a really beautiful guy. But he shows up to the studio one day and Ken Calais is like, hey, Lindsey, where's your hair? And he was like, yeah, I was in the shower and I just like went crazy and I just had to cut it all off. Just like cut all of it. And he showed up just with like no hair. And I said, this is big time manifestor move or big time manifestor urge because they don't know where these come from. And I actually know the manifestor that I learned about this relationship about the MG and manifestor energy types through. She had an urge like that. She was like, I had to just cut my hair one day. I was just like, I have to do it. I don't know why. I just have to cut my hair. And this is just what they're like. And it's so funny because people around him were like, yeah, he's a weird guy. Like because they don't get it. They don't see what's going on inside his closed door. And to him, he
Totally.
probably doesn't even understand why he's doing it. All that Neptunian influence. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I have to do this,
But
but I
like I
just
just have to do it.
and all I know is I have
Yeah.
to. Yeah. Which is just so funny. And that's the main thing. And just popping in here for a quick editor's note, another thing to know about manifesting generators is that they are famously multi-passionate and often have many interests that don't seem like they connect to each other at all. And so for Stevie, actually back in the day, she even said that rock and roll is great, but it can't be everything for her. Like she needs more than that. So she would also do ballet. She painted, she created art. She was really, really good at it. The stuff was really beautiful too. I don't know if she still does it, but it's so typical manifesting generator. Like they may really love doing something. It may really turn them on, but for them to cut out their other passions, only focusing on one thing, like it's like cutting off a limb. And what's cool about them is they don't have to focus on one thing to be really good at each of them, or their quote unquote main thing. So it's important for them to give themselves space and expand into lots of different stuff. And just popping in here for a quick editor's note, another thing to know about manifesting generators is that they are famously multi-passionate and often have many interests that don't seem like they connect to each other at all. And so for Stevie, actually back in the day, she even said that rock and roll is great, but it can't be everything for her. Like she needs more than that. So she would also do ballet. She painted, she created art. She was really, really good at it. The stuff was really beautiful too. I don't know if she still does it, but it's so typical manifesting generator. Like they may really love doing something. It may really turn them on, but for them to cut out their other passions, only focusing on one thing, like it's like cutting off a limb. And what's cool about them is they don't have to focus on one thing to be really good at each of them, or their quote unquote main thing. So it's important for them to give themselves space and expand into lots of different stuff. And that's the main thing that I see there between their energy types. And then I'd love to move on to their profiles here too, because the energy type, it's great. But, and what's interesting in human design is that's the first thing that you learn about with your design is your energy type and also your authority. But it's by no means like the most important thing about like who you are. None of your design is who you are, right? It's just like looking at a map of Spain and being like, this is Spain. No, this is a map of Spain. So your human design chart, your astrology chart, whatever, it's a map of the energies that you hold. It's not you. It could never be all of you. But anyway, so what's interesting is that the profile is really the closest thing that we would have to a personality type. So it also has to do with how you learn, how you work as well, how you connect with others, and then how you fulfill your karma. So with Stevie, she is a 6'2" role model hermit profile, and then Lindsey is a 1'3" investigator murder profile. So what does that mean? Well, first off, the 6'2" profile. So the 6'2" is the role model hermit, and I want to start off with the two line here, which is the hermit line. This is a natural talent. So the beautiful thing about the two line is it's like the dancer becoming the dance. These people are a natural genius with something. They're the people who pick up a guitar and they're like, oh, this is easy. And so with the two line, it's all about this natural talent and this natural ability. Like you don't really have to learn it, you just have to learn it on the job. It's like the more you envelop yourself in doing this thing that you really love and that you really like, the better you get at it. So it's about trusting that natural talent and then just letting it shine. It's like the more you do it, the better you get, which you could say about a lot of people, but you'll see it's kind of like different with Lindsey.
That makes so much sense for Stevie though, because
Mm-hmm.
she does just naturally have that, just like the giftedness
Yeah.
and talent that's there that is yeah, like not something that it seems like she's needed to work at. Like obviously she's grown within certain ways, but it's just a part of who she naturally is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And what the cool thing about the two line too is that it's not supposed to be like super aware of itself. So she knew that she liked to sing, but you never hear her talking about like how good she is.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't really hear a lot of people would probably think like I come off too self-involved, but like
But she's
her
very
stuff,
humble.
she is, and she never talks about like how people recognized her. That's never something that you hear from her. At least I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And if she does talk about that, she talks about that in the context of her relationship with Lindsey and her loving
Yeah.
relationship with
Yeah.
him. So with Steve with the two line, what's just so fascinating is it's called out by other people for its talent. Other people recognize the two line, and oftentimes the two line can be like, "What, me? Like this is a they might even not even realize that the thing that they're doing is something they're good at and is a talent." Which is
Yeah.
why so many two lines are like, "What's my purpose?" And it's like this thing you're doing, like you're great at it, like this thing that you throw yourself into. That's it. Just trust that thing that you love. And with the two line, it's supposed to be about ease. It's this thing that comes very easily to you. So if what you're doing as a two line feels hard, you're doing the wrong thing.
Mm.
Like you should just like you need to let it be easy. And it's funny to me because one of the people I learned human design from, she's a 2/4 projector, and that's all about ease. It's like how can you let things flow and not force them so much? So the two line is here to embrace that in its own life, but with any part of our chart, that's something that we're also supposed to bring to the world. So the two line teaches that to the world. Like,
Mm.
how can you embrace more ease in your life and do what feels good? Because that's what the two line is all about. It's about what's organic.
It also makes me think about how she started singing when she was so young with
Yeah.
her grandpa,
Hmm.
right? And just
Yeah.
like how natural that was.
Hmm.
And it makes sense to me too that something that is just so easy to you from such a young age, you'd be like, okay, whatever, but like maybe I should do this thing. Maybe I should go to school and do this thing. But it's like, no, that's like literally what you're good at
Yeah.
and what has always been there.
And what's funny too is that she has talked about how she like learned guitar and
Mhm.
then she was kind of just like, no, not my thing. She was like this thing that she was like, I learned a few chords and I was like, nah, I'm fine. I'm just gonna like let somebody else who's good at that do that.
Yeah.
And even with writing music, she was like, I would write the music, but I couldn't like compose it really.
Mhm.
So I mean, she like even when she was talking about I think it was Dreams or it was I don't remember, or no, I think it was Rhiannon that she was writing. She was like, I was literally at the keyboard, like, ding, 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 Rhiannon flies through the night. And so yeah, it's just really funny. Like, she just flew with these things that she was naturally good at and just kind of let it be that way. And it's really interesting too, because I think I mean, ChatGPT has addressed this, and I think other people have addressed this too. But there's this kind of underlying thing with her relationship with Lindsey, where he was the person who got them into Fleetwood Mac. He was really talented. He worked really hard, and he was the one who was doing music when they first got to LA because she was supporting them,
Yeah.
and she wasn't really working on music besides writing songs with him. Like they'd stay up until 3 a.m. every night working on this stuff, but otherwise she didn't have like performances in her life.
Mhm.
And so he was kind of like the star. And she at one point said, like, I believed in him more than he believed in himself. So it
Mhm.
was kind of about like getting Lindsey up and running at the beginning. I don't remember where I read this, but I know I read it somewhere. Okay. Someone just believe me, all right? I don't have a quote for this, but it's not here. It's hearsay a little bit, but
Just believe me.
just believe me. Okay. The Reddit threads are way worse than this. They won't even quote people.
Oh my
They'll
God.
just throw shit out there.
I was on a Tumblr that was crazy researching
Oh
this.
my God,
Yeah, but
I could
anyway.
believe it. Basically, it was this feeling of like Lindsey, there was this tension because they were both like really talented, but she's the one who wrote the songs that like really took off in
Mhm.
Fleetwood Mac. Like Rhiannon is, I think, their best-selling song ever. And she just did
Wow,
that.
yeah.
She just did it because she just came up with it,
And she
you
wrote that
know?
before they were with Fleetwood Mac, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that like natural talent and ability, I think, was a little bit of a friction point. And also because she had a very free-flowing style when it came to writing and recording, and so did Christine. And both of them said that that really clashed with Lindsay's style
Mm.
because he was a creative and a visionary and weird in a lot of ways when it came to what he was creating, but it was much more regimented and structured. And they were like, okay, this is kind of cramping our style a little bit. And Christine always said that she felt like she had to get it perfect the first time because otherwise
Mm.
Lindsay was like very militant. He was like, no, we're doing this again, which is in some ways very admirable. It's like you're
Yeah.
gonna make the music good. It's like if
Yeah.
we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it well. But at the
Absolutely.
same time, that can be absolutely soul crushing,
Yeah.
and not let you have any room for your creativity, which is what the two line needs. Like it needs to not feel like someone's watching it and saying, do this differently, because then the two line will like just retract and not want to come out of its little hermit shell. And then also she
Mm.
is the six line. This is what she would identify with more in her profile because the two line is the unconscious line. So she would know that it's there, but it would, I mean, the two line already is called out by other people because it's not as aware of itself. But she probably, again, that's like another layer of being unconscious with her natural talent and other
Mm.
people drawing that out of her, or recognizing it more than she would. She would probably just know, I just want to do music. Like, I just want to do this because I like it, and I better be good at it because that's how you make it in the industry. But anyway, the sixth line is called the role model. And so a little bit about the sixth line, it's this like big picture, top-down view, optimistic, I don't want to say naive, but kind of childlike, very innocent energy. And it's a very, very interesting energy because it balances this groundedness and realness and like this is reality kind of energy with fantasy and
Mm.
innocence and like, well, none of it really matters that much, right? Like all is one and life is just beautiful and everything is perfect and divinely perfect in its way, its own way. But
Mm.
then there's this other side that's like we need to make it perfect. Like, and so it's this really interesting dichotomy. And actually in human design, each of the environment types, because you everybody has an environment type, I believe Caitlin's is your markets,
The
and
markets.
I'm what am I? Mountains. Each of these actually correlates to a profile line. So in the environments, the sixth line correlates to shores, which is about some kind of delineation between two different things.
Mm.
So it's like people with shores environment, they tend to like to live in like liminal spaces. They like to live on the edge of town. They like to live on a literal shore, like by the beach, right? It's between two, it's like they like to live in this thing that separates these two worlds. And so with the sixth line, it's just, I've always found it such a fascinating line because it really encompasses the lessons of all the other lines and it just takes everything into account. And so it's a big thing.
Mm.
And because it has this like great top-down view, the sixth line can seem a little bit aloof or removed because it's like I know I have a wide scope on this stuff. So all these things that you guys are getting into at this lower level, I'm not so interested in that because I know that there's something more than this.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it's really fascinating. So it can look like it doesn't care. It can look like it doesn't care about humanity. That's not true. The sixth line cares a lot about humanity, but it's not going to get like involved with it like someone like me or Caitlin would with the five line, because the five line's like we get in there and we solve and we create a solution, right? It's like enough
Yeah.
of this bullshit.
Yeah.
We have the solution. Let's get down to it. The sixth line is I pull back and instead, I act as the quote unquote role model, which is I live as my highest expression. And that is an example for other people to make this world a better place. So that does mean too that the sixth line carries a lot of this energy of experience. And it's about becoming the role model through just living your life and learning your lessons and going through your own mistakes and pulling whatever you need to from that. So the sixth line is also like the archetype of every human's life, but it's like particularly strong for anybody who has this in their profile. If you have a six line profile, so if you are a 3-6, a 4-6, a 6-2, or a 6-3, your life is going to be segmented into some very clear cut segments. How many times can I say that word? One more time, segment. But for the first 30 years of your life, it's going to be all about experimentation. And you're actually going to live your life more like Caitlin's profile would. So she's a 3-5. You're going to live it as a three-line profile, which learns through trial and error, just discovering things, just seeing like what works, what doesn't. And you have to learn it by doing it yourself. Like you have to get your own hands dirty. You can't have someone tell you don't touch the hot stove and you're like, okay. Instead, it's like, what, this hot stove? Let me try that again. This hot stove? Like that's what the three-line energy is. It's like you have to quote unquote go through failures, but know that there is no actual failure. There's just learning what works best and what doesn't.
It's so real.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't tell me that doesn't work because I'm gonna try it.
I'm gonna try it and then I'll find
Oh my
out.
God, then tell me why. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna find out why.
Caitlin's like, wait a second, let me just say. You can't just like tell me it doesn't work. Explain why.
But truly.
Yeah, but if there's anyone who's going to find out whether something works or not, it's a three line. So
Yeah.
if you tell someone like, oh no, I know, they're like, really, do you? Because I tried it too, and you're full of shit.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, and so then the second period from 30 to 50 is when they go into the on the roof period. So they pull back a little bit. This is when a lot of people create businesses, families. And this is when they're supposed to be pulling together all of the experience that they've had and integrating it basically and turning it into wisdom so that at 50, they start showing up as the role model. It's so funny because people in our generation, we adore Stevie Nicks. Like we still do.
It's so true.
It's not just baby boomers who love her or Gen Xers. Like
Yeah.
millennials and Gen Zs, like we look at Stevie Nicks as a role model. Yeah, and it's just really interesting. And so the other thing about Six Lines is that they love fantasy. They love fantasy. I like Six Lines. I used to ask people something on my podcast, right? I'd be like, what's something that you're really brings you a lot of joy right now? Two Six Lines said they love The Sims. the game. And then another six line said she loves fantasy novels. And so it's
Mm,
all about that. They love going to a different world.
yeah.
And with her, I mean, she's like, she
Oh,
said that
that's
she's,
so
yeah,
fits.
she's all fairies and angels and fairy tales and lace. And the song Dreams, by the way, is like so six lined. So six
Yeah.
lined. Like, we're all gonna get through this. The rain will wash us clean. And it's like at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're gonna get through, we're all people, and it doesn't even matter because we're all gonna die someday, right? So it's just like, let's get through this. Um, and what's really interesting, we said this about Stevie before, but what's fascinating to me about six lines and six twos in particular, I call six twos the grounded optimist, is that they're weirdly like feet on the ground at the same time. It's head in the ground, in the clouds, feet on the ground. So they have this beautiful childlike quality to them where they're not like super attached to reality, but they're not detached from reality. Like there's just like a lightness around it. So it's funny because she can be like very, let's cut the crap. Let's be real here. Get to the point. What are you talking about? Don't bullshit me. Don't bullshit everybody around us. But then she loves to sing about like stars and gypsies and also flowers, like, and Lizzie Buckingham's beautiful blue eyes, and they are absolutely beautiful. But yeah, so that's the six two.
We do lovely.
Yeah. And another thing to know about six twos is that somebody else I learned human design from describes them as the exemplary human. So that's not like they're an exceptional human necessarily, but it's their job to see themselves that way because they are supposed to be the example for others. And like all role model lines are, but for the six two in particular, like they're so perfection driven and detail driven that they really need to see themselves that way. And because they're like so focused on perfection, they can get really bogged down in details and also like what other people are doing. And they can be like, this is how we will perfect you. But that's not their job. They're not a five line. They're not here to solve that problem. The only problem they're here to solve is the perfection of their own lives and selves. And the other thing about the six two is that they are always looking for a soulmate. They're always looking for that soulmate version of everything, and they're never going to give up. No six line is. For the six line, like they can quote unquote give up on finding the soulmate version, but they can never stop believing in it.
Yeah.
Like they just do. They're just built for that. So that inner child may feel like it's trapped in a room, like locked in a closet, but it's still there. And they can't fight that. That's that innocence, that belief in fantasy and like, oh my God, this perfected fairy tale version of things.
Oh,
Yeah.
so Neptune.
Yeah, so Neptune. That's Stevie. And then Lindsey, on the other hand, is a 1-3 profile. This is a really interesting one when it comes to their relationship. So the 1-3 profile is called the investigator martyr. And what's interesting is that in profiles, each line is either an interpersonal line or a personal line. So interpersonal lines are all about other people. So 4, 5, and 6 lines are all about intermingling and like getting out a message or just influencing other people. It's about interconnectedness with others. On the other hand, the 1, 2, and 3 lines are personal lines. These are all about the self. They're about learning in one way or another. The 1 line learns through investigation, digging deep into things. The 2 line learns through doing and through natural talent. And the 3 line learns through experience. The thing about Lindsey is that people like him who have both of their lines, 1 and 3 as personal lines, they're really here for their own stuff. Like they are here to kind of have tunnel vision and be very introspective, but honestly not always be super like aware of themselves and interaction with other people. And they're definitely not here to think about other people a lot. Someone I know named Rachel Lieberman, she's a lovely person and she's not selfish by any means. Like she's not thoughtless, but she herself has said like, I just don't really think about other people that much. And that's totally okay. That's what the 1-3 is here for. And as a 1-3 manifester, like they're kind of known as being the ones who forget to inform the most because they're the ones who are the least self-aware. I'd say 2-4 manifestors are probably like the closest ones there. But
That
they're,
makes so much sense though,
yeah.
because there's just so much self-focus.
Yeah, which is right
And
for him.
independence. Exactly.
Yeah, totally correct for him. But, it's this kind of like, I'm taking off and I don't understand why everyone's mad at me that I didn't say anything about that. Like, you guys need to figure this out. Sounds like a you problem. You need to figure that out. With his conscious line, so this is what he would probably see himself as. He has the 1 line, and the 1 line's the investigator. And so with this one, it's funny. They say the same thing about the 1 line as they do in as the 2 line, which is like it becomes what it's doing. But with the 1 line, it's not so much about that flow. It's not the dancer becoming the dance. It's the professor becoming the thing that he learns. It's like I have literally learned and studied and done this and gotten so deep into this that I am this. Like, somebody who, let's say they're a chemist or something like that. It's like, I am chemistry. Like they become that. It's just so important. And they're also here to get to the foundation and the bottom of things. So it's all about digging and hard work. There's nothing about the one line that's inherently easy. The two line is always supposed to be easy, but someone I know said that like nothing about the one line is really easy, and it's not supposed to be. It doesn't mean it's not joyful. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's not um full of ease because it's something that you enjoy learning about. Like I'm a one line and I love learning about human design, but it wasn't this like natural thing that I pick up and like I learned to get better at giving readings. It was like through textbook learning and through classes and
Mm.
through really digging into information that's very important for me to create a foundation. And so it may not be when it comes to information, it may be with, musical theory or whatever, but it's this,
Yeah.
this essence of getting to the bottom of something and creating this solid foundation, because unless you have that foundation, you don't feel solid enough to move forward. So, with Lindsey, what's interesting is like you kind of see this in his work of like, no, we're going to get to like the bottom of how to do this. It's not this easy breezy two line bullshit that you have, Stevie. And then with the three line, what's so interesting is that the one line is all about creating foundations. The three line is all about going out and testing them and then breaking them down if they don't work. Because the three line is all about experimentation. It's all about like seeing, like pushing the boundaries and trying something new and like seeing what works and what doesn't. And that means like sometimes throwing spaghetti against a wall and the spaghetti doesn't stick, and that's okay, but you learn something from that. So what's really interesting about Lindsey is I think this is one of his biggest like gifts and talents and superpowers, because what people said from the band is that he was very experimental. For example, with Tusk, like we're doing something different. We're not doing rumors. We're not doing rumors again because he was really afraid that they were going to be left behind because there was a bunch of new music coming out. Like he listened to punk music and he was like, "What's going? Like this is not the same
It's not
thing
this.
like at
Yeah.
all. If this is the direction people are going in, like we have to make a shift." And on their album Tusk, he was the one who was pushing for like the weird instruments and the weird sounds and the different music. Like Ken Calais said that he was going into the studio. He was like, I was ready to record another Rumors, and everybody was ready to record another Rumors because the album did so well. And Lindsey
Yeah, it
really
worked.
fought. Yeah, he really fought for experimentation. He was like, come on, guys, just trust me on this. And it was a good thing. All of them were like, we're very grateful that Lindsey did that.
Mm.
And also in his solo career, if you listen to his songs, none of them sound the same and they're all experimental. Like they're great. I love his
Mm.
music, but it's very different from what he created in Fleetwood Mac. He has like never really stayed the same with what he's done. And his music has variety for sure. And I think a lot of that comes from his willingness to experiment and just kind of like keep things fresh, which is cool.
Mm.
Yeah, but it also the three line can look really messy and clumsy sometimes. And it's like
Yeah.
when things don't work, it's like,
Yeah.
why did you think it was gonna work? And they're like, shut
Yeah,
up.
I'm like, stop talking.
I know.
That's so interesting. Well, what I feel like I see so much of his Aquarius moon
Hmm.
through the three line, through the experimentation and doing
Yeah.
something different.
Hmm.
But I also feel like it must have been such an interesting dynamic between him and Stevie, with her six line presenting so much like a three
Yeah.
early on in life, and then his three line, and then also just the dynamic between her six line being what's most conscious to her and his
Hmm.
three line being what's most unconscious to him.
Yeah. Hmm. He probably doesn't see himself that much as like as that as that
No.
experimenter or that person who's like kind of messy
And he
sometimes.
must have identified in Stevie in that way quite a bit, but then saw her kind of grow out of that too.
Maybe. Yeah, well,
I
I
think
mean,
that's interesting.
I mean, it's interesting. They probably did at the beginning of their relationship when they were both like, we're just
Exactly.
experimenting. Like we're just
Totally.
both figuring out what's going on here. But
Totally.
he kind of stayed that way throughout his entire life. And I think
Because
that
that's him.
yeah, but she's become the role model. Like she knows what she's here for at this point. But anyway, so how these two profiles interact. So I mentioned that the 6-2 can hyperfixate on other people and try to kind of like fix them. Sometimes it can fall into micromanaging other people, which one would not do well with a manifester. They'd be like, fuck off.
Yeah, good luck.
But also no 1-3s are notorious for not really being super self-aware or like automatically thinking of other people all the time, which doesn't mean they're bad people at all, remember. But they're not really designed to approach life that way. And 1-3 manifestors, again, notorious for just like taking off. So this is a really interesting combination because you have one person who's like, hey, you're doing this thing, you always do this thing, or what you're doing isn't right, you need to change that or perfect that, especially from the 6-2's perspective. If they're looking for a soulmate, they're like, that is not very soulmate behavior of you, you know? Like you are not being my soulmate right now. And then the other person will be like, what are you talking about? I don't understand what you're talking about. I don't see it. This is again a you
Oh my
problem,
gosh.
you know?
Yeah.
Like they may want the relationship to work, but they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And the other thing I'll say too is that with profiles like these, so the two line needs a lot of time alone. It's called the hermit for a reason. It needs time alone to pull away and work on its own thing. And whenever Stevie talks about the stuff that she's written, she's always done it on her own. With Rhiannon, she did it on her own. I think while Lindsey was off working, like she was definitely by herself. Landslide was when he left her in, I think, Colorado because they'd had a fight. Oh my God, this is a really funny story.
Oh my God.
So she was in Boulder, Colorado, waiting for him, and he came back and he had come back from a tour thinking he was going to make quite a bit of money as a backup guitarist. He did not make much money. So he was already pissed and they meet up and they're both pissed. And he is like, and she gets mad and she's like, you know what? You just take the car. You just like leave me here. I don't even care. And so he like grabs their dog.
He's like, fine.
Yeah, he's like, fine. I'm taking the dog. And he takes off. And then because she thought she was like, I'll be fine because my dad is the vice president of Greyhound. I'll just get a bus. And then that day they had strikes for Greyhound and she couldn't get out of Boulder.
Oh my God.
Or I think it was Boulder. It was Aspen. Aspen.
Okay.
She couldn't leave Aspen. And that's when she wrote Landslide.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she also wrote
Oh
Silver
my God, imagine
Dreams.
if they were not having a strike that day.
I know.
And we didn't have landslide.
We wouldn't know that children get older. Or the
And that
time
we're getting older too.
she also wrote Dreams because she like went off into, I think it was Electric Lady Studios. She just went off into a corner and just wrote Dreams because she had some time on her own. I think she was like, I needed to get away from everybody, which girl, I get it. It makes sense with the two line. And then also the 1-3 needs solitude. And so for both of these people, like there was space that needed to be had, and you'll see this in multiple parts of their human design chart. There needed to be space, and I don't know that they got a lot of that space when they were on tour or
Yeah.
living together. Like when he was like touring, she was probably there, it was probably better and it was fine. But you know, they loved each other so much and were so joined at the hip and had like and these are her words, not mine. They had an obsessive relationship
Yeah.
that I think it was difficult for them also to be apart from each other. So, you know, I don't know that they got that time that they needed to be apart. And there was always this like coming back to each other. But creatively, definitely they would have needed their own space to give each other their own space. And it's interesting. I think around the creativity, they were definitely more open to that. But it sounds like Lindsey was a little less happy to give Stevie that.
Yeah.
And in Tusk, it's funny because there's that one part. You remember that video I sent you about her talking about him when they were creating Tusk?
I think so.
Yeah. So there's this really great video. She's in an interview in like 2009 and she's like, yeah, and you know, Lindsey was just like kind of off doing his own thing and we'd be sitting outside like outside of the recording booth and he did this one time he did this thing where he laid down on the tile to get like a certain kind of sound and he brought the microphone all the way down and he was like ooh 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 and we'd be like, okay, that was great. Take two. And then he'd go, "Ooh, ooh, 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 ooh." And she said, and it was, you know, the problem was that we just did not feel very involved in it because
Yeah.
he would like spend a lot of time in the studio during Tusk and then like send all of them out. And then he'd be like, okay, you guys can come back and I need you for something. But anyway, yeah, so that's
big manifestor energy.
Big time manifestor energy. I'm having an urge. I'm in flow. Please do not interrupt.
Get out of my space.
Yeah. So that's the profiles. I'm leaving some stuff out there, but that would be the primary thing that I would see between these two people. So they also both have defined heart centers. So in human design, the heart center, which has like a million names, ego, will, resource center. Okay, maybe not a million, maybe 5. But it's about ambition, willpower, obtaining on the physical plane. So getting resources. It's that push, that motivation, and that kind of energy that makes you go for something. So it's this I want energy, I desire, I get, I obtain. And the sacral center is about desire as well, but that's like, this turns me on, this gives me energy. The heart center is I am motivated by this. I am motivated to push through all odds to go get this thing. And only it's a minority of the population that has this. I've read that a third of the population has this. I've also read that an eighth of the population has this. I think it's close to a third because I've seen way too many people with defined heart centers in readings. So I think it's only an eighth. And I don't think that I have something about me that just attracts a lot of defined heart centers. But it's not the majority. So most of the world is expected to act this way, but it's really only some people. And the rest of us, like Caitlin and myself, have to be like, we're not here to prove ourselves. Motivation is literally comes in waves, and that's okay. It's literally okay. We don't need it. If you don't have it in your chart, you don't need it to achieve what you want. You're here to use what you have in your chart to fulfill your purpose and do what's right for you, and obtain what it is you want at a soul level. But anyway, so both of them have defined heart centers. And with a defined heart center, that means that they have consistent motivation. And also, it's like, ain't no one going to get in the way of me getting this thing I want. These people usually have big desires or they want a lot. And even if they don't, even if it doesn't look like a big desire, they have to be allowed to own their desire. It's not a dirty thing, which is so funny to me because like everyone's expected to act like someone with a defined heart center, like go get it, challenge yourself, put yourself on a 30-day challenge and just do it, stick to it, be motivated. And then yet when people with defined heart centers own that, everyone around them is like selfish, greedy, bitch, and just like gives them such a hard time because they're so intimidated by the energy or they feel a pressure to succeed because the other person's doing it. Amanda Francis, money queen, manifestation queen, she has gotten like a lot of hate for just going for what she wants and just embracing what it is she wants. And she has a defined heart center. She's a really good example of this. But these people also embolden all of us to go for what we want. It's a beautiful energy. But anyway, when you have two people who have that, again, I wrote this in my notes, both need to go their own way, LOL, and follow their desires and what they're motivated to go get. So the good part of this is that they could probably keep up with each other at the beginning of their careers and throughout their entire careers, probably. Like, if anything, they probably egged each other on, like, hey, we can do this, right? Like, and they could keep up with each other and understood each other's drive.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of their careers, when it was like things weren't looking good, it was like, come on, man, let's just keep going. It's like, you're right, let's keep going. And when one person was doing that, the other person could be right there with them. They wouldn't feel necessarily pressured to do that. Like, they both wanted it. They both had the energy to put the motivation in, even when Lindsey got sick with mononucleosis, even when Stevie had to work two jobs, and things weren't looking good. So it's like never giving up, sticking to things. What? Why is it funny that someone got mono, Caitlin? You're so mean.
Is he having mono? Feels so right for him.
He has had so many illnesses, dude.
He has, and especially like recently. And so I'm sorry, Lindsey. We do love you, but
Caitlin thinks it's really funny that you got sick.
Who were you kissing with?
Rachel, oh my God. Who are you shacking up with, Lindsey?
Yeah. Oh my God. But okay.
We'll get
like a side note.
Yes. Okay. Wait.
Do you know what I'm gonna say?
About the packing up, shacking up.
Yeah.
Okay. We're getting
okay.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so this is all about really going for their goals. But the thing about the Defined Heart Center is it does not like being told what to do. On top of being a manifesting generator and a manifester.
Yeah.
It doesn't like its energy and like motivation being directed towards what it doesn't want it being directed towards because it's going to like gun for that. And it also doesn't like its schedules and its activities being dictated. So a lot of people with defined heart centers will run their own businesses because they're like, the other thing I didn't say about the defined heart center is that it has consistent motivation, but it doesn't have constant motivation. So it's like it turns on with a pulse and it goes, and then it shuts off. And then there's a rest period. And they actually say that the defined heart center works in order to rest. The reason I'm telling you this is it shuts off after a while. And then during that time, it also does not like to be told that it should be working because it doesn't have the motivation that it needs and wants. So they can push this, like they can, if they are really conditioned to, they can be like, no, I have to work all the time. But there are pretty strong work rest cycles. And they do not like people dictating those for them because their body's already dictating for them themselves. So that can lead to some butting heads, especially if one person had a rest cycle going and the other one had a work cycle going and the other one was like, we need to work now. That probably wouldn't have gone super well because they have their own rhythms. They have their own timing for that. And then so speaking of the heart center or the ego center, we're going to talk about authority now. So authority is basically your inner decision maker. It's how your body helps you make decisions in a predictable and effective way. So it's like your rule of thumb for making decisions. So for example, my authority is sacral authority, which means that in the moment, my yes or no's based on my desire of like, oh, that lights me up. I have energy for that. Or the no of like, no, I don't have energy for that. That's my authority. That's how I know how to make a decision. So if Caitlin was like, hey, do you want to go to the beach right now? And my sacral center was like, yes, then like that enlivens me. I have energy for that. That would be a yes from my sacral authority. That's how I would know how to make that decision. If she said that and I was like, no, or I was filled with dread, then that would be the right way for me to go.
Filled with
Yeah, filled with dread of going to the beach. I can't think of many times that
that's
happens.
not
But
yeah.
yeah, and then Caitlin, on the other hand, is a reflector. She has lunar authority. So for her, the way her authority works is that she needs more time to really know if a decision is correct for her or not. They say 28 days, but it's really the idea behind it for reflectors is just you give yourself more time because
Space.
yeah, space. You need to give yourself space. For Stevie, she's something called an emotional. She has emotional authority, specifically the 3047 channel wave. Yeah, which is a sweet wave. I like that one.
Yeah,
And then
is.
yeah, and then Lindsey has ego authority or heart center authority.
Yes, he does.
Through I knew you were gonna say that. Through channel 4521. So I wrote, oof, this is where it gets spicy. There is a pretty common and often spicy connection between the defined emotional solar plexus center and the undefined emotional solar plexus center. So Stevie has a defined solar plexus and Lindsey has an undefined solar plexus. So Stevie is what we call an emotional, which means that she creates and experiences her own emotional energy consistently. And every emotional spirit experiences their emotion and emotional energy as what we refer to as a wave. So there are 4 different waves, and each of them is basically a different kind of experiencing emotion. Like the way it's going to happen for you, and when you have outbursts and when you have highs and lows, like that depends on the kind of wave that you have. So for Stevie, she has something called the tribal wave, or what you can call the buildup wave. So the way it works for these people is that their emotions will kind of like ratchet up over a period of time. And usually they're not aware of this. It's kind of under the surface, but it is happening. And the people around them who are non-emotional, so they pick up and experience energy from other people, they will usually notice it first. They're like, something's going on, something's building up. I don't know what, but they can sense it. And then suddenly the emotional will have like this release where it's either a day where she would just be like blue or low or kind of upset, or it's an explosion. It's crying, it's kicking and screaming, it's feeling like you're having a breakdown, like nothing in life is working for you, everything's falling apart. And then the next day they're like, whew, I didn't realize I had that in my system. How to get that out, right? But this is one of those things where people can just like all out of a sudden just like freak out at their partner, and both people are like, "What was that about?" Like no one really understands, and the emotional might be like, "Well, it's because you said this thing," but really it has nothing to do with that. It's just their emotional state at the time. And then when it comes to making decisions, someone built like Stevie with emotional authority is really meant to give themselves some time to make a decision because one, with these highs and lows that they go through, they might be like, oh, crap, I don't actually know. I thought I knew yesterday, but now I'm unsure, so I need some more time. And secondly, if they do make a decision in the moment, it's very common for them to look back and be like, crap, that was really based on the emotional state I was in right then. It wasn't like the ultimate truth. And I regret doing that thing or saying that thing or making the decision to go in this direction. So instead, their job is to wait for clarity, which just means that they wait until they feel basically baseline about a decision and they're not coming from a super heightened or low emotional state. And all of this, honestly, it's okay. Like, it's just because this emotion has, I mean, not yelling at your partner, maybe don't do that, but like this stuff has been building up and now you're just releasing it. It's not anything that you did, it's just the way that your emotional energy works. And emotional energy is completely non-personal. It's just an energy that flows through you like any other any other of the 9 energies in your human design chart. So like mental energy or motivation energy or identity energy, like it's all neutral. And these emotions don't really mean anything about you. They only mean something about you if you tell a story about them. Like I'm sad and blue because like this happened, or I shouldn't be sad or blue. So the more you let yourself feel your feelings as an emotional and just witness them, and the more you accept them and say, like, yeah, you know what? I feel this way and I get to feel however I feel because it's not a problem, the better. Like that's honestly, I think that so many issues in the world come from emotionals not embracing their own emotions and non-emotionals not drawing a line and saying, this is not my emotion and not letting other people feel their emotions. And that's because, on the other hand, we see this. On the other hand, Lindsey is a non-emotional or open emotional, which means that he's like Caitlin and me, and he does not consistently create emotional energy. Instead, he picks it up from people like Stevie and he amplifies it. So he's basically an emotional empath. And then he'll experience this emotional energy as if it's his own. So in this kind of relationship, if the emotional person, one, if the emotional person doesn't say like, okay, I'm just having this emotion and it doesn't like say anything about you or about me, and doesn't just accept their own emotions. And two, if the non-emotional person doesn't realize that these are not their emotions, it doesn't say anything about them that the other person's feeling that way. So many explosions, so many problems, so many explosions. The emotional person either feels like they have to repress their emotions because they're too much, or they see their emotions reflected in the non-emotional and they try to repress the emotion in the other person, which is like not even theirs, so they don't feel like they can express it. And like non-emotionals are meant to reflect the energy back. Like wherever you have an undefined energy center, you're supposed to reflect that energy back. That's why Caitlin, with all 9 of her energy centers undefined, is a reflector, because she's here to reflect the energy of wherever she is. That's part of her energetic like purpose in this lifetime. So the non-emotional will be like, I can't express my emotions either. I can't just like say how I'm feeling. And then everyone's freaking out and no one knows why, and everyone's blaming each other and everyone's screaming. And and I'm not saying this is why they had issues. I think it went much deeper than that, but it is really interesting to see. It's a really common dynamic. And something else I'll tell you too is that they're not the only kinds of people who can have this. Two emotionals can both be having a bad day and both blame each other for their emotions when it's both of them. Like both of them, it's just what they're feeling today. It has nothing really to do with the other person. And then two non-emotionals can pick up something from their day and then bring it home and just bounce it back and forth from each other, and like they're screaming, and then one person steps back and is like, what are we even arguing about? Nothing. It's because one person, like someone's coworker, was upset and they picked that up and they brought it home, but it has literally nothing to do with either of them. It's just that they were carrying this energy and it's like bouncing around in them. What's interesting too is that even though Lindsey has an undefined solar plexus center, so he's not going to be experiencing emotion on a regular or a consistent basis, it doesn't mean that he never will. He'll experience it through other people. And when he does, the theme of gate 30 in his chart, which is desire, will be activated. And gate 30 is like yearning, it's longing, like it's the fire of life that keeps you going towards your desires. Of like, basically the idea behind gate 30 is like, the reason you want something is you think you want the thing, you think you want that experience, whatever it is, that relationship with that person, that car, that job, but actually what's pulling you towards it is like the feelings that you're going to have along the way, or the feeling that's promised through that desire. And that's the fire that pushes you towards it and like keeps you alive. Even though emotion can be so painful to feel, it's like, oh my God, that makes me feel so alive. So people with gate 30, they can like really wallow in their feelings, but it's one of those things where like, oh, woe is me, but like also it's so aesthetically pleasing. Like it's just, like there's something in it, like emotion is so delicious because it's the main ingredient in life, or like it's part of this experience.
This like shows that I'm alive.
Yeah, that could not have put it better. This shows that I'm alive, that I'm feeling this. So sometimes it can be really hard for them to move on from certain experiences because I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's like subconsciously like, oh my God, will I ever feel this way again? Will I ever feel this alive again? But it's also a very creative energy. So it's in channel 3041, which is like all about creativity and dreams and fantasy and making that stuff come alive and like bringing your dreams to life. So for him, he has just like that fire and that desire. Yeah, it's a very artistic and creative kind of energy. And then with Stevie, the reason why she is an emotional is because she has channel 3740, and that's a channel that's all about creating community. So with these people, community is really important to them. And there are lots of like fantastic expressions of this. They're great at like creating communities, they're great at pulling them together. But they also like can be very blindly loyal to other people, and they don't like to let their people down. So that can be people who stay in a relationship a little longer than they should, or like stay in situations in which other people are taking advantage of them because they're like, I don't want to like not be here for you, like we've known each other for so long, or I love you, right? Or I'm afraid of losing this relationship or losing my community. It's more like I'm afraid of losing my community and losing the people who feel like family to me. And I'm also afraid of not serving them, because with gate 40, that's the gate of like the giver. It's the gate of basically like the resources and provider. And so it also makes so much sense to me that she would be the one who made them money when they first started out. And it's just and like she was like, this is how I contribute to our partnership and to our like quote unquote
Totally.
family and keep
Totally.
us together. And then with Lindsey, he has ego authority. So that is that heart center. That's the primary when we're talking about authority, we're basically talking about like the center in your chart that talks the loudest when it comes to making decisions, or it's the most important when it comes to making decisions. This is the one that you rely on. So for Stevie, it's the solar plexus center, and for Lindsey, it's the heart or ego center. So here's the thing with a manifestor with ego authority, especially in the way that Lindsey has it. People who have this know what they want and they are very motivated to get it. There's really nothing blocking them because the only thing with manifestors that's ever blocking them is another person. It's like there's no energetic block. Like there's nothing that they have to wait for. They don't have to wait for like anything to hook up for it to feel easy for them to move forward. Like they have all of that. They have the forward energy and momentum when it's time to go. For ego manifestors, yeah, they are very motivated. They go after it. And out of all manifestors, I would say that they dislike to be blocked from being able to do that the most. An ego manifestor will say, because they have their heart center connected to their throat center, they'll be like, this is what I want. You will know what I want. And also, you will do what I want so I can get what I want. You will not do it because that blocks me. And so he has channel 4521, which is called the channel of money, but it's about much more than that. It's basically about directing the group and telling them what to do so that everybody can work together well, like a well-oiled machine to achieve a goal, usually in order to like obtain resources or just hit any kind of goal, really. But the thing about this is that it needs to be a group that wants to listen to you because they need to be people who are willing to submit to your power. So it has to be a group that sees your vision and says, okay, you're the leader. Like we trust you, or at least we trust you with this project. Otherwise, it's going to be seen and felt as like really pushy and really controlling because the sense is like, if you don't help me get this thing I want or achieve this thing or go in this direction or make this vision happen, you're blocking me and you're a problem. So you need to do what I want you to do. And I actually have a friend who has this channel and she really is, she's a lovely person. But when she's drunk, she gets into this like, you need to do this right now. And if you're saying like, hey, like you dropped something, you don't want to pick it up, she's like, no, not picking that up. You pick it up. Like it's just like a completely other level. Not usually like that, but it fucking when it comes out, it comes out. And so when it came to the creative direction and vision of Fleetwood Mac, Lindsey was known for being very determined to get his way and have his creative vision be the one that everyone went towards. Like when he saw the vision, he was going for it and he was like, guys, this is what we're doing, or like you need to let me do this.
This is what's happening.
This is what's happening, y'all. And this is what the hap is fucking. That's not to say that it didn't help the band or that they didn't recognize that. It definitely did, and they definitely did. But they also for sure had problems with it, especially, including, not especially, but including Stevie. And there was a really funny quote from John McVie where he said at one point he went up to Lindsey and he was like, listen, this band is called Fleetwood Mac. I'm the Mac and I'm the bassist. And he was just like really like putting him in his place. He was like, you were invited in this band. I've been here since the beginning, bitch. Are you fucking kidding me? You come in here with your initiating. Okay. And something else really interesting is that he has another leadership channel, which is it's sort of like the alternate to channel 4521. It's channel 731. And it's called the channel of the alpha. And so this is more like a democratically chosen leader. It's almost like the person who just naturally rises to the top or gets to the front of the group and becomes the leader. Usually they're chosen by other people and they don't always choose it for themselves. It's just a natural thing. Like if they claim power, they're just like, yeah, it's because like someone needs to lead us.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we want to move forward, someone's got to be the face of this or someone's got to like move ahead. So my friend Darcy has this in her chart. It's not necessarily that she's like, I want to do this. It's like people are like, Darcy, what are we gonna do? And she's like, fucking okay, and sometimes she wants to do that. She's a manifesting generator with a defined heart center as well. But it's more like this is for the collective, this is for the group, and this is also it's less about obtaining resources and more about determining direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, seven people with channel 731, oftentimes they are CEOs, but they may just be like a front person. So one of my favorite examples is Steve Miller. So he has channel 731, and not only did he like create his own band, but like he is the face of his band because his band is called Steve Miller Band.
Yeah.
It's like always
It's
has
named
been,
after
right?
him.
It's
Yeah.
always been about him, you know? And so it's like these people are meant to be at the front. They're meant to be the leader and they're meant to be in charge, but it's for everyone. And it's also to make sure that everybody goes down a path that works for them. What's interesting is that Stevie also has gate 7. She doesn't have the full channel. And here we can see another conflict because gate 7 likes to determine the direction in which the group is going. It doesn't need to be the face of leadership, but it wants to be steering the ship.
Mm.
So two people with gate 7, you know, who may want to go in different directions, that can really cause some clashes. Like
Oh,
one of
yeah.
them will be like, listen, I don't fucking care. You be the face of this. I don't need to be seen for this. I don't care. I don't need the influence,
Yeah.
but I need to decide which way we're going.
Yeah.
So if two people have that and they're not allowed, and like one of them is not allowed that, there's going to be this like,
Yeah.
this issue.
Or if they're like misaligned about what
Yeah.
direction that looks like.
Yeah. And it's not to say that one person with gate 7 wouldn't step down. You know, it's not to say that like
No.
they would,
They just like
again,
both have that drive
they both have that
towards.
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they both feel like they know the right way to go.
Yeah.
And also that it's, you know, the right with Lindsey, it's like this is at least the right way for me to go because he has a consistent sense of direction with the defined G center. So he's like, I have to go this way. And what's interesting too about people with defined G centers is that their direction, like the G center is direction, but it's also the self and love and identity. So oftentimes when these people, when they are taking off in one direction and someone is like, that's not the right way for me, they can be like, why are you rejecting me? Like, but they're not. They're just rejecting your direction because it's not right for them.
Yeah.
And so it can feel like particularly heartbreaking. And I think all of this really comes together with like why when Stevie broke up with him, he was just like, what? Like, how are you just like rejecting everything about me? Like, why do you hate me? And, you know, for obviously that wasn't the case, but I could definitely see as like a manifester with a defined G center with 4521, that's very much like you're my person. Venus and Scorpio, as we talked about, being like,
Yeah, like, are you allowed to make that
like,
choice
are
right
you? I
now?
know,
Like,
I don't even know if it's legal for you to break up with me. So I also wanted to pull out a few gates that I thought were really interesting in their charts.
oh my gosh, I love these.
And so, yeah. And so, first off, Lindsay's sun is in gate 48, which is the gate of depth. And so, these people just seem really deep. I actually have a friend named Jazz, and she always jokes that when she asks people questions in interviews, or she has a podcast, or when she like does a master class or something, people's comments are always like, you went like way too deep with this. And I'm just like, she can't go any other place. Like, that's literally what she's meant for. But Gate 48 is called depth or the well in I Ching. And it's really about like the wisdom that resides deep inside of you and that you're here to be recognized for. So Lindsey is literally like one of the primary energies in his chart is to be recognized for something, like how good he is at something and how much he, in particular, how much he knows about something. So how like sufficient he is at guitar playing, how much he knows about guitar, how much he knows about music, like how much he knows about what he is doing. But along with that comes the fear of inadequacy. So it's interesting because with every fear in human design, it's this accidental inward turning of an external awareness. So all the fears in human design are actually a kind of awareness that has kind of been distorted. So with gate 48, it's this awareness for whether or not you have enough to move forward. So these people are really good for knowing like, hey, I don't think we have everything we need. If I don't have everything I need, whether that's a certification or, you know, some kind of material thing like money or a tool, whatever, like I'm very aware of that. However, with these awarenesses, we can be hyper aware. And then if we turn them in on ourselves and make them say something about ourselves, then we'll be like, someone with gate 48 will say, oh, I'm not enough. I'm never going to have enough. I need to work harder. I need to prove more that I am enough. And I don't know, maybe that would resonate with him in his own life. It's hard to say, but hard to say. I don't know. I don't know. And right, he might listen to this, Lindsey.
Maybe Lindsey.
Lindsey,
Let us know.
if you've made it this far, let us know. He's
Lindsey
watching.
would
He's
love
like,
to hear
he's
from you.
watching like this. I'm so fascinated.
Lindsey, if you're watching this, I'm sorry about my thumbs down at you.
Yeah.
I do love you. Yeah. You want to give me a little spot?
I do.
It's been hours.
I drank
Yeah.
most of this bottle. I feel fine. And then Stevie's sun gate is in gate 20. And gate 20 is called metamorphosis. It's about speaking the truth of the moment or taking action on the truth of the moment. And for her, this is connected to gate 34, which is the gate of charisma and power in the sacral center. So this is what makes her like a very fast person once her body has had a yes response to something. So her job really in this lifetime is just to like remember that life will bring you the next step. And then as soon as you get this yes and you follow that and you will be so powerful in the moment. Like people with 2034, they look like they can build empires in a very short amount of time and like during these very short spurts. The sudden creative majesty and beauty can come out of what they're doing. And when she's doing what she loves, she'll look very charismatic and look very like attractive, and her energy is very juicy. People just can't stay away. Like they really, really want that. And then gate 20, what I love about this gate is that it has a lot of power when it just like speaks and acts on what it's feeling in the moment or what she's responding to in the moment as someone who has this in her chart. But also they have this gift of like kind of cutting through heaviness. So as it's a very Gemini thing that like a Gemini can take a really heavy thing and say something about it and it's funny, right? Like they can say something,
Oh, it's so true.
or like they can point something out and be like, hey, you're being such a dickhead right now. And like everybody around them will think it's funny, probably except the person that they're telling it to.
There's like an ease in accessing like the lightness in something that might not actually be light in reality.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the kind of thing that you see in comedians where they can say something on stage and first off they can just like do something off the cuff and you're like, "Oh my God, they're really tapping into the moment. They're tapping into the energy of what's happening right now." And then also they can say something that is so funny because it's true. The other thing about gate 20 is like, especially if it's connected to gate 34, but like overall, these are the kinds of people who will say or do something and they actually don't know what they're about to say or do until they do it. And they also are the kind, yeah. And so if you ask them like, what the fuck was that? Why did you do that? They have no clue. They'll either say, I don't know, or they'll be like, oh, it was because of no. Because they're just speaking the truth of the moment. They may not know why that's the truth of the moment right now. And also they're known for like saying things that really impact other people and create and help like and create some kind of metamorphosis in the world around them that they might not even know happened.
Yeah.
Like they may say something to someone else and it transforms something in somebody else just by speaking what feels right in the moment. I want to wrap it up with a couple of other gates that I think are really interesting for Lindsey and Stevie. So for Lindsey, he has gate 43, which is the gate of insight, which is part of the Freak Genius channel. And with gate 43, they get these like big, random, sudden insights that they're like, oh, that's so fascinating. It could be like a way of looking at life. It could be a concept. It could be an idea. But whatever it is, it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird because it's going to be never thought of before. It's going to be innovative, very different. And to the correct people, it seems like a genius idea. To the wrong crowd or said at the wrong time, because sometimes these people can share it before it's like ready to come out because they're like, I have this idea, I got to share it with people, but they don't have a way to formulate it yet. Or they're just not telling the right people because they're not reading the room. People will be like, what is wrong with you? What are you talking about? I don't understand this. This has no bearing on me whatsoever. And also, I just don't get it. How would this apply to anything? It's like it can be a very Aquarian energy of like, no, listen to me. I know what I'm talking about.
It's so
And it's so weird. It's so weird. But shared at the right time with the right people, it's transformative and it is incredibly innovative and it's seen as insight. And you will be seen as the genius that you are when you share it at the right time.
Is that where his moon is?
This is Mercury.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes total sense.
This is Mercury.
Yeah.
And it is conscious. So he probably realizes that he thinks this way. And he is just like,
yeah.
I know it's cool, but I also know people think it's gonna be weird. And then also Stevie has gate 12 in her chart. And actually Caitlin has this in her chart, which is really cool. It's known for being this very impactful, powerful, artistic, poetic voice. And people with gate 12 have a very memorable voice. And the kinds of things that they say really stick with you and really like land, whether that's in a good way or a bad way. Like people don't forget the things that people with someone with gate 12 has said. Remind us to tell you the Joseph stories.
I knew you were gonna bring that up.
I can't. No one will ever let Caitlin forget that she said this. It was
I
like
will never
it
live
was
this moment down.
like 3 seconds of her life, and she's just
When
like
I was like 15 years old.
15 years old.
Yeah.
I wasn't even there, right? And I can't let it go. I made a mug of it like for her birthday. But
Oh,
anyway,
it's
it's
so
so good.
good.
We have to tell you guys the story later. The actual last thing that I want to talk about is their composite chart. So I know that we haven't really talked about that that much because they only have a couple of electromagnetic charts and person which is like when they have like opposite gates and they meet together and it's supposed to be like that's what attracts you to another person. Or that's like those are the places where you kind of have chemistry because it's like opposites attract. They don't have a lot of channels that do that, and the ones that they had, frankly, they didn't feel that important to mention. They have the channel of power 3457 and then the brainwave, which is 2057. I mean, that's like connecting charisma to intuition and like so maybe together they would have been like intuitive on like where to put their energy in order to like activate Stevie's sacral power. And then also Stevie would have given a voice to his intuition. So that's cool, but it wasn't like particularly important. But the main thing that I wanted to share is that whenever you have a composite chart with somebody, based on the number of centers that you have defined in that composite chart. So it's basically a new chart that like is the two of you combined and it looks like a new person. The number of centers that that new chart has defined will tell you a little bit more about the connection. There are several places that you could look to understand the connection, but this is a big one. So for them, they have 7 centers defined and 2 undefined. And so that's called 7-2 work to do. And all of them rhyme for some reason. 9-0 nowhere to go. There's 6-3 better to be free. But for them, it's 7-2 work to do. So for this, it's essentially like if you're willing to work on it, it will work. But you do need space. Like these people definitely need space from each other and they'll do better when they have some of that. With 6-3 better to be free, it's like we're not even really in a relationship at all. Like we meet up sometimes and then like things are great, but it's like there's not enough keeping us here together to be like together long term. So I have a friend who we have 6-3 better to be free, and I love him to death, but I'm like, I don't know if we'd be friends if we lived closer together all the time or like saw each other all the time.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where it's like I love him and he is my friend, but that probably wouldn't be something that worked
Like it
as
works
well.
because there's distance and
Yeah.
freedom.
And it's not even his personality. I love his personality. It's because we work at such different rates. He moves so fast. And I literally, like, when I went to visit him one time, I came home and I was like, like I literally got sick because I was just run ragged. He just works at a different pace than I do. But anyway, with 7-2, the two centers that they have undefined are the head center and mind center. And that's a lot about inspiration. So they both like with like together, they have like unlimited ways of seeing the world. There's no one fixed way that they're going to see the world when they are together.
That sounds like really positive for creative
Oh
inspiration
yeah.
and sharing,
Yeah.
though.
Mhm.
Like that makes a lot of sense.
It's the kind of person you could just like
You can
bounce
bounce so many
ideas.
ideas
Yeah.
off to, yeah,
Yeah.
and then like, yeah, create things from there.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And also just the consideration of the idea of like taking in this creative channel and this like source of creativity into your crown and then like navigating that out in whatever way it needs to. The fact that that's open through both of them, I think says a lot about just their dynamic creativity.
Yeah.
Creatively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I actually found an interesting quote from Lindsey that ties into this. At least I think it does. And he says, "You know, it's funny. After all these years, you'd think there would be nothing left to work on. But oddly enough, Stevie's in my relationship is still a work in progress." I also think this is a really great time to bring up the Tango in the Night incident.
Oh my God. I've been so excited for this. Okay. The Tango in the Night incident. So this little synopsis that we have here, by the way, is from the Pitchfork article.
Yeah. Wait, also Tango in the Night, so you guys know, is a Fleetwood Mac album.
Yeah, so
And
this was while they were touring for Tango in the Night.
it was right before they were touring.
Oh, right
So
before
it
they
was like
started
in
it.
1986, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so they'd done the album, they had the tour set, everything was done.
Okay.
So they're meeting at Christine McVie's house.
Yes. So they're meeting up. They're in anticipation for the tour for Tango in the Night. They've already secured dates. They've signed contracts. Like it's a go. It's happening. They're just like meeting up and they're like, okay, we're about to do this.
Yep.
So at the meeting, Lindsey tells everybody that he's quitting the band. He's just like, yeah, I'm done, by the way. And so this is what Stevie says about it. She says, I flew off the couch and across the room to seriously attack him. I'm not real scary, but I grabbed him, which almost got me killed. And so then apparently afterwards, they spilled out of the house. They like run out of the house and into the street. Lindsey runs after Stevie Nicks and throws her up against a car. I think it's his car. I don't.
Does it matter?
It's a car. It's a car. No, I don't think it matters.
Chokes her. Wait, which car's that?
Wait, was that his car though? And also, what kind of car was it?
Understandable then. That's understandable. Okay.
But I think he was trying to leave, and she's chasing after him.
Maybe.
And then he throws her up against his car. That's something that I read. It literally doesn't fucking matter.
I'm sorry, but I know it's like abuse is never funny. Abuse is not funny.
It's not,
but the idea of Stevie Nicks, who's like 5'1", just like
running after
like a flying squirrel, running, jumping. Jumping at him.
Like, I'm gonna fucking attack and kill this man.
So funny.
So he throws her up against his car. She, quote, screams horrible obscenities at him. I could only imagine what that would be like coming out of Stevie Nicks' mouth. Like, I would love to hear that from Stevie Nicks' mouth.
I would pay to be screamed at by Stevie Nicks.
And then he walks away. And he leaves and he walks away. This article says, quote, from the moment and from the band for some added drama. But yeah, that's how he took off. That was the way that he broke up with them the first time before they kicked him out.
Yeah, before they kicked him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And something too, please cut this if this is like off topic, but after they kicked him out, his wife like showed a lot of public support of him and his work. And then it was just a couple years later that they got the divorce. She filed for the divorce. So it's just interesting.
Well, they didn't
talk about a lot.
They're still together. They didn't get divorced. They worked it out. She came back.
I thought they still officially got a divorce.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't totally. That's what the internet told me.
Okay.
That they like
we all know the internet never lied.
Tried to work it out,
Yeah.
but that they did officially get divorced.
Okay.
But I could totally be wrong about that. But Lindsey did say that it was largely because of COVID, and it forced them to spend so much time together. They had never spent so much time together uninterrupted, and that it just like brought forward all of these issues within the relationship.
Also, okay. Side note: we haven't talked yet. Should we talk about Carol Ann Harris? Or should we wait?
Let's do it.
Okay. So Carol Ann Harris was Lindsey's girlfriend after he dated Stevie, and she was his live-in girlfriend for 7 years. She came on tour with them, and this is why it's like we're so concerned with finding out whether or not he was hooking up with Stevie Nicks after they broke up, because she met him before they were even done with the Rumors album in 1977. They like immediately got together. And Stevie has never said anything about her, but there is a video. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Yeah, there's a video. So basically what happened was they were on their private jet, and like the band was supposed to be the only ones at the front of the plane because they needed time alone to like relax and write music. And so there were like all the people around them, like groupies, like partners, managers, whatever. They were like kind of all milling about. So they were like, you guys need to get out because we need to write our songs. And there's this video where Stevie, she knows who Carol Ann is. Like 110% she knows who she is. And she calls her a flight attendant, and then she goes, you, out.
It's like so petty of Stevie. It's so funny.
I would do the exact same thing. Yeah. I'd feel like you're like, get the fuck out.
Why are you here? Get out.
Get the fuck out. But yeah, anyway, so with Carol Ann, and it's hard, like I believe women. So when she said this, I believe this. But she said that Lindsey physically abused her.
Yeah.
And that eventually she was put in the hospital, and the doctor was like, you need to leave him because he's gonna like
terrible.
Yeah, it's not gonna end well for you. And so yeah,
we also see Lindsey being abusive towards Stevie easily, like
also, okay, I think if we're gonna dive into this, we might as well talk about the incident in New Zealand.
Yeah, we should. Okay, so this was in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
This was obviously they're performing in New Zealand, and Stevie Nicks, they're singing Rhiannon, and Stevie Nicks is doing her like classic dance during this song, which is like pretty witchy. She has this like hooded poncho on. She's like living in ninth house mood.
So
And so
cool.
while she's performing, Lindsey like pulls his jacket over his head, like in a mock hood of hers.
Like a
And
12-year-old.
yeah, and starts like dancing and this like crude like imitation of her. This quote specifically says crow-like. I would like to know what that means. But he's like imitating, he's like mocking her on stage, like while they're performing. And so, what Stevie said about this experience was that Lindsay was angry, just mad at me. She said that wasn't a one-time thing. Lindsay and I had another huge thing that happened on stage, and we had some kind of a fight. He came over, he might have kicked me and did something to me, and then we stopped the show. He went off, and we all ran at breakneck speed back to the dressing room to see who could kill him first, which is just hilarious. That like little addition of who could kill him first.
Everyone
Everyone's just
hated
like fucking pissed. Everyone's like, Lindsay,
fucking.
why are you doing this right now?
Ugh.
So Christine gets there first, and Stevie gets to him second, and then the bodyguards got in the middle of all of them. And what Christine said, perfect Christine, said, I think he's the only person I ever slapped. I might actually have chucked a glass of wine too. I just didn't think it was the way to treat a paying audience. And then
Other sources have said she's like hissed at him, like, you never do that to this band again. Which
go
is
Christine.
like,
Honestly,
Christine.
go Christine.
Yeah,
And
Christine.
she's like,
Oh,
this isn't even about what's going on for you personally. It's like people have paid to come see us and we're performing. And like, how fucking dare you? Like, have some respect for these people who care about us and cared enough to be here tonight.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, okay. So then Lindsay, in response to this, he did not deny any of it, but he looks like a little bit puzzled to hear them reflected back to him. He says, what I do remember is a show where I purposely sang much of the set out of tune, which, what a dick move.
Why would you even do that?
Why would
to
you do
begin
that?
with?
Yeah. We got off stage and everyone was irate, obviously. They were talking about firing me and getting clapped in. Very well founded because it was not a professional thing to do. So he like has the reflection later on that this was not a professional thing to do and that it like made sense that they wanted to get Eric Clapton in to replace
Yeah.
him. But what he doesn't remember is kicking and mocking Stevie. He just remembers being like, yeah, I purposely like fucked up that set.
Anyway, okay. So lastly, I want to end with a couple of quotes that I didn't work into my reading, but I'll just kind of mention a few human design things about them.
I feel like these are also just so good.
They're
And,
so
like
funny.
so quintessential as far as understanding their dynamic. Yeah.
So here's a quote on Stevie. Stevie on her breakup with Lindsay. When he and I split up in the very beginning, Lindsay was never quite able to understand what happened to us, and that in itself made day-to-day living very difficult for him, and it did for me. So this relates back to their Chiron in the sixth
Yes. I
house
was just
and
thinking that.
part one when we were talking about their composite chart in astrology
Mhm.
about like when there were issues, it was like it definitely was like a day-to-day thing because they worked
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Like the sixth house is
Like
also about
their
work.
work was the most challenging.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it was also the most fruitful for them, which is really interesting.
Totally.
But it's also so funny to me because of that 1-3 manifester, like Lindsay just literally couldn't get
He's
it.
like, I don't get
You
it.
don't get it.
And then also with like the dynamic that he has with his moon and series, like that aspect is like him not understanding what's going on with women
With
anymore.
women at all. He
Where
just
he's
doesn't
like,
get
wait,
women.
you want to break up with me? Like, what? Why?
Why?
Why do you feel that way?
Wait, and then okay, I have another note on this. So here's a note on Stevie's famed dislike of the lyrics in Go Your Own Way, which is a song by Lindsay, if you didn't notice, because we kept making jokes about Go Your Own Way in this episode. So
You
she
should know
said,
by now.
You should know by now. So Stevie said, also, have you never heard the album Rumors? What's wrong with you?
If you're if you got this far and you haven't heard rumors, like just pause and go listen to rumors.
Yeah, we should have said this beforehand.
Yeah.
That was your
Actually just finished because it's almost over.
Yeah, that was your required listening. Okay. So she said, I've always said go your own way is Lindsay's dreams. My dreams was my kind of airy-fairy spirituality saying, when the rain washes you clean, you'll know. In other words, we're all going to come out of this. And Lindsay, you and I will come out of this. We'll be friends and it'll be okay. And Lindsay's dreams was go your own way, which was nasty and angry. And in my opinion, it was extremely disrespectful to say shacking up. And me, ladylike, prudy Stevie, which I am, was very offended by him saying shacking up is all you want to do. Because I was not in any kind of shacking up mood. I was not shacking up with anybody. And this is just a note
Tell
that
him,
has
Stevie.
tell him, Stevie. She's like well known for fucking hating this lyric. And she said too, like, he knew it wasn't true. He knew it wasn't true, and he just did it to annoy me and make me mad because he knew it would piss me off. And she said every time I sang that on stage, I wanted to go over and kill him. But I also do think it's funny, like maybe this is just me. I was just thinking earlier, like I've had this experience with men before, and I'm sure women do this too, but I've just specifically had this with men where it's like they can't understand that if you're breaking up with them, like it could just be them.
Oh my God.
like they
Yeah.
don't get it. They're like, well, no, if you're breaking up with me, it must be because you found someone better.
Is there someone else?
Is there someone
And you're
else?
like,
Like,
no, this
listen,
is about
this is about
you.
you and
Why
how
you?
you suck.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that's not possible. There couldn't be a problem with
It
me.
could not
I just you
possibly
found
be that.
someone that you think is better than me, you absolute bitch. And then here's Lindsay's dumbest shit response to Stevie's note on the lyrics from Go Your Own Way. It may be a very truthful and blunt observation, but you know, that's the way you write songs. Which we've established it wasn't
What?
truthful in
Yeah.
any capacity.
Yeah. What?
Okay. And that was our duo episode.
Thank you
Yeah.
guys for listening.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned some stuff. I hope you
Yeah.
had fun.
I don't
I
think you
had a
did.
lot of fun.
I had a great time. We've
Yeah.
been recording this for like
It's like
5 hours.
Almost 6 hours, actually. Almost 6 hours.
We
took a good break though.
We took a break.
We took a
We
really
talked
good
about
break.
our life issues and problems and,
Yeah.
and it was going well for us as well. You know, we
Oh yeah.
actually did we? No, we should probably talk about that. We should balance it out.
What?
Anyway, with
Wait,
what's
what?
going well in our life.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. Well, we love you guys. And if there is
love you.
another chart or there's a composite chart that you'd like us to look at from the human design and astro
Oh
perspective,
my God, let us know.
let us know.
I don't know that we can guarantee the same amount of hyperfixation as we had with Lindsay and Stevie, but that's because we fucking love them. I don't know if you got that.
Yeah, I can 1000% guarantee we're not going to do this much due diligence. And also, we never even like
Yeah.
showed them our action.
Oh yeah, you guys need to see that.
I think you need to see how Stevie Nicks looks when she's actually staying in.
And I think you all have seen this video.
Yeah.
If you haven't, you should.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye guys.